The sun climbed steadily into the sky, its warm rays spreading over the gold-rich hills of Nigeria. The landscape was breathtaking, a rolling expanse of hills dotted with sparse vegetation, their golden hue shimmering in the light. This region was famed not just for its beauty but for the wealth hidden beneath its soil. Stories of untold treasures buried deep within these hills had been passed down for generations. Some spoke of the riches that brought prosperity to those who unearthed them, others whispered of curses that followed the greedy. Yet, for the untrained eyes, these hills seemed like any other, a serene and untouched wonder of nature. The air was crisp and filled with the earthy scent of the land, mingled with the faint buzz of insects. A narrow dirt road snaked its way through the hills, and at its end stood a rickety yellow school bus. The vehicle, now empty, had carried a group of students from St. Michael's Secondary School, who were gathered nearby, chattering excitedly as they prepared for their day of exploration. At the forefront of the group was Chica, the undeniable leader. Tall and confident, with piercing eyes that seemed to spark with curiosity, she was the kind of person who always had a plan and a backup plan. Chica had a reputation for being fearless, often leading her friends into adventures that left teachers shaking their heads and parents raising their eyebrows. "The hills are waiting," she said with a grin, her voice filled with anticipation as she scanned the horizon. Beside her stood David, fidgeting with his glasses. David was the cautious one, always questioning their decisions and thinking 2 steps ahead. His nervous energy was both a source of frustration and reassurance to the group. "Chica," he muttered, glancing at a nearby cluster of rocks, "are you sure this place is safe? I mean, look at those hills, they're hiding something, I can feel it." "Relax, David," said Mike, throwing an arm over his friend's shoulder. Mike was the joker of the group, always ready with a quip or a funny story to lighten the mood. With his wide smile and easy laugh, he had a way of diffusing even the tensest situations. "What's the worst that can happen? We find gold, get rich, and leave you behind because you're too scared to pick up a rock." His joke earned a chuckle from the others, though David only sighed. Meanwhile, Mary, the dreamer of the group, had wandered a few steps away, her gaze fixed on the hills. With her notebook tucked under her arm, she jotted down quick sketches of the landscape and notes about the stories she'd heard. "These hills feel alive," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. Her imagination was her constant companion, and she often found beauty and meaning in places others overlooked. Their teacher, Mr. Anderson. A tall, stern man with a deep voice, he was known for his passion for geology and his insistence on discipline. "Listen up, everyone," he said, holding up a rock hammer. "We're here to learn, not to play. These hills are a treasure trove of geological history. If you look closely, you see layers of time, evidence of what the earth has been through. But remember," he added, his tone growing serious, "this land has its stories. Respect it. The myths about curses may not be real, but they are a reminder to tread carefully." The group murmured in agreement, though Chica exchanged a knowing look with Mike. "Myths are just stories," she whispered, her voice low but filled with excitement. "If there's gold out there, I'm finding it." The students were divided into small groups, each assigned to explore different parts of the hills and collect samples for analysis. Chica, David, Mary, and Mike stuck together, as they always did. Armed with small tools, notebooks, and their boundless curiosity, they set off down a narrow path that wound deeper into the hills. As they walked, the atmosphere seemed to change. The sunlight filtering through the sparse trees felt dimmer, and the cheerful buzz of insects faded into an uneasy silence. The beauty of the hills, so striking from afar, now seemed mysterious, almost foreboding. "I don't like this," David muttered, glancing nervously at a shadowy outcrop of rocks. "It's too quiet." "Stop being such a chicken," Chica said, though even she felt a faint unease. "We'll be fine. Besides, if there's anything interesting out here, we're the ones who find it." Mary paused, her hand brushing against a strange stone sticking out from the soil. "Look at this," she said, her voice tinged with wonder. "It doesn't look like any rock we've studied in class." The others gathered around as Mary unearthed the stone, revealing a glimmering piece of what looked like gold. Mike let out a low whistle. "Jackpot," he said, his grin widening. Chica's eyes lit up with excitement. If there's one, there's more. Let's keep looking. Despite David's protests, the group pressed on, their anticipation growing with every step. But as they ventured deeper, the hills seemed to close in around them, the shadows growing longer, the air heavier. Unbeknownst to them, their discovery was not a mere coincidence. The hills had been waiting, watching. What lay beneath their surface was far more than gold. It was a secret buried for centuries, and the students were about to uncover something that would change their lives forever. The group ventured further into the hills, their laughter and chatter echoing faintly against the rocky terrain. The excitement of exploration had momentarily replaced their earlier unease, with Mike's jokes keeping their spirits high. Chica led the way, her sharp eyes scanning the ground for anything unusual. She was determined to find something remarkable, something that would make this trip unforgettable. As they approached a cluster of jagged rocks jutting out from the hillside, Chica suddenly paused. Something caught her attention, a faint glint of light reflecting from under a large, weathered stone. At first, she thought it was just sunlight dancing on a piece of quartz, but the shimmer was different. It had a warm, golden hue. "Guys, come here," Chica called, crouching down for a closer look. "What is it?" David asked, hesitantly stepping closer. Chica pointed to the glint. "I think it's gold," she whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and disbelief. "Gold?" Mike's eyes widened as he knelt beside her. "No way. Let me see." Mary leaned in, her curiosity piqued. "It does look like gold," she said, her voice tinged with wonder. "But how would it end up here, under this rock?" "Only one way to find out," Chica said, determination gleaming in her eyes. "Help me move this stone." David hesitated, glancing nervously at the surrounding hills. "I don't think this is a good idea. What if it's a marker for something dangerous?" "Oh, come on, David," Mike said with a grin. "It's probably just a shiny rock. Don't be such a scaredy cat." With Mike's encouragement and Chica's insistence, the group began to work together, using sticks and their hands to push and pry the large stone loose. It was heavier than they expected, and the effort left them sweating and covered in dust. Finally, with one last heave, the stone rolled away, revealing a dark opening beneath it. The hole was small, just large enough for a person to crawl through, but the faint glimmer of gold continued to sparkle from within. The air that wafted out was cool and musty, carrying a faint metallic scent. "It's a mine," Mary whispered, her eyes wide. "Or a cave," David muttered, his apprehension growing. "Either way, we should tell Mr. Anderson and let him decide what to do." "Tell Mr. Anderson?" Chica scoffed. "And let him seal it up before we even get a chance to see what's inside." "No way. This is our discovery." "Chica, this doesn't feel right," David said, his voice firm but edged with fear. "What if it's dangerous? What if? What if it's gold?" Chica interrupted, her voice rising with excitement. "Don't you see? This could change everything for us. For our families." Mary glanced between Chica and David, torn between her own sense of caution and the allure of adventure. Mike, however, was already peering into the opening, his curiosity outweighing any fear. "I say we go in," Mike declared. "But only for a little while. Just to see what's inside." Chica grinned, clapping him on the back. "That's the spirit." Reluctantly, David nodded, though his stomach churned with unease. Mary said nothing but grabbed her notebook, ready to document whatever they found. With Chica leading the way, the group crawled into the narrow opening one by one, their flashlights cutting through the thick darkness. The walls of the mine were damp and rough, and the air grew colder the deeper they ventured. Then they saw it. Embedded in the walls, veins of gold shimmered faintly under their flashlights. Scattered on the ground were fragments of broken tools and ancient-looking gold nuggets, as though someone had been mining here long ago. This is incredible," Mary whispered, her voice filled with awe. "See. I told you," Chica said, her grin widening as she picked up a small nugget. We've hit the jackpot. But as they stood there, marveling at their discovery, a faint sound echoed through the mind, a low, almost imperceptible whisper that sent chills down their spines. What was that? David asked, his voice trembling. Probably the wind, Mike said quickly, though he didn't sound convinced. Chica shook her head, unwilling to let fear ruin the moment. It's nothing, she said firmly. Let's gather a few samples and get out of here before anyone else finds this place. Reluctantly, the group began picking up small pieces of gold, their excitement tempered by an unspoken sense of dread. The whispers grew louder, almost like voices, but they couldn't understand the words. As they made their way back toward the entrance, the ground beneath them trembled slightly, and a gust of cold air rushed past, extinguishing their flashlights for a brief, terrifying moment. Chica, David said, his voice barely above a whisper. I really think we shouldn't have come here. Chica didn't respond. For the first time, doubt flickered in her eyes. But it was too late. Whatever they had uncovered, it wasn't just gold, it was something far more dangerous. The narrow entrance to the mine felt like the mouth of a beast, its darkness swallowing the light from the outside world. Crawling inside one by one, the students emerged into a surprisingly spacious cavern. The walls glistened faintly, streaked with veins of gold that sparkled in the dim light of their flashlights. Whoa, Mike whispered, his voice breaking the silence. This is insane. The cavern seemed untouched by time, its treasures lying scattered across the rocky floor. Ancient tools, rusted and brittle, lay beside fragments of golden artifacts, bracelets, pendants, and even what looked like coins. Each piece was intricately designed, telling stories of a forgotten era. It's beautiful, Mary murmured, her eyes wide with wonder. She knelt to pick up a delicate bracelet, running her fingers over the intricate patterns etched into the gold. This is it, Chica said, her voice trembling with excitement as she held up a nugget of gold the size of her palm. Her mind raced with possibilities. Do you know what this means? We are rich. We could change everything, our families, our futures. David hung back, his flashlight casting long, flickering shadows on the walls. He couldn't help but feel uneasy. This doesn't feel right, he muttered. How long do you think this has been here? And why would anyone leave this much gold behind? Who cares why? Chica shot back, her grin unshaken. It's ours now. Even Mary, usually the cautious one, allowed herself a moment of fantasy. Imagine what we could do, she said softly. I could finally go to art school, buy my own supplies. Mike laughed, stuffing a handful of coins into his pockets. Forget art school. I'm buying a mansion and a car. No, 3 cars. David hesitated, watching his friends lose themselves in their dreams of wealth. This isn't just gold, he said finally. These are artifacts. Someone put them here for a reason. We should stop. But his words were drowned out by the excitement of the others. As the group continued to explore the cavern, a cold breeze swept through the mine, carrying with it an unnatural chill that made their skin crawl. The flame of their lantern flickered and then died out, plunging them into near total darkness. Okay, that's not normal, David said, his voice trembling. Relax, Chica said, though even she sounded uneasy. She clicked on her flashlight, the beam slicing through the shadows. It's just the wind. The wind. David repeated, incredulous. We are underground, Chica. There shouldn't be wind. Before anyone could respond, faint whispers echoed through the cavern. The sound was soft at first, almost indistinguishable from the hum of their own breaths. But as the seconds passed, the whispers grew louder, more distinct. They weren't words, at least, not any the students could understand. Did you hear that? Mary whispered, clutching her notebook tightly to her chest. Hear what? Mike asked, though his forced grin betrayed his nerves. The whispers were joined by the faint sound of footsteps echoing deeper in the mine. Heavy, deliberate steps. Who's there? Chica called out, her voice firm despite the chill running down her spine. The only answer was the sound of the footsteps stopping abruptly, as if whoever or whatever it was had been caught listening. "I don't like this," David said, taking a step back toward the entrance. "We need to leave. Now." But as he turned, his flashlight beam swept over the cavern wall, revealing a series of symbols carved into the rock, symbols that seemed to pulse faintly, as though alive. "Guys," Mary said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't think this is just a mine." The group exchanged uneasy glances, their earlier excitement now replaced by an unshakable sense of dread. Chica tightened her grip on the gold nugget in her hand, her mind torn between the allure of their discovery and the growing fear that they had unleashed something far more dangerous than they could imagine. The whispers returned, louder this time, accompanied by a faint, chilling laugh that sent shivers down their spines. One thing was clear, they were not alone in the mine. The whispers seemed to grow louder as the group ventured deeper into the mine, their echoes bouncing off the cold, damp walls. Mary's flashlight caught something on the cavern wall, a series of carved symbols glowing faintly in the dim light. Intrigued, she stepped closer and gasped. "Guys, look at this," Mary called out, her voice trembling. The others gathered around, their flashlights illuminating a chilling sight. Carved into the rock was an inscription written in a language they couldn't understand, accompanied by crude, ominous drawings of skeletal figures clutching gold. Beneath the symbols was a sentence scrawled in broken but decipherable English. "Gold taken with greed brings sorrow and death." The words hung heavy in the air, as though they carried the weight of every misfortune that had ever befallen those who dared to ignore the warning. What does that mean?" Mike asked, his voice faltering. "It's a warning," Mary whispered, her eyes wide. "We're not supposed to take the gold." Chica's face hardened, her grip tightening around the nugget in her hand. "It's just a superstition," she said, her voice firm but strained. "Probably something the old miners carved to scare people away." "Chica," Mary said, stepping forward, "what if it's true? What if this gold is cursed?" Chica scoffed, though unease flickered in her eyes. "You really think a piece of metal can bring sorrow and death? Don't be ridiculous. We'll take some of it out, just to see if anything happens." "That's insane," David snapped, his nerves fraying. "You're gambling with our lives." "We're taking it," Chica said firmly, stuffing the nugget into her pocket. "If anyone wants to leave it behind, be my guest." Reluctantly, Mike and Mary gathered small pieces of gold. David stood his ground, refusing to touch any of the treasure. "You're all going to regret this," he muttered, his voice tinged with fear. As the group made their way back toward the entrance, the atmosphere grew heavier, as if the air itself disapproved of their actions. The shadows seemed to stretch and shift, and the whispers followed them, growing louder with every step. Then it happened. David's foot caught on a jagged rock, and he stumbled forward, crashing onto the uneven ground. A sharp cry of pain escaped his lips as he clutched his leg, a deep gash bleeding profusely. "Help me," he groaned, his voice filled with agony. Chica and Mike rushed to his side, helping him to his feet. But as they stepped into the light outside, David's injury seemed worse than they had thought. His leg had begun to swell unnaturally, the flesh around the wound turning an angry, purplish hue. "We need to get him to a hospital," Mary said urgently. "Tomorrow," Chica replied, trying to mask her concern. "Let's just get back to camp first." That night, as the group gathered in their tent, the horrors continued. Mike woke up screaming, his face drenched in sweat. "They were everywhere," he gasped, his eyes wide with fear. "The walls, they were closing in. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get out." "What are you talking about?" Chica asked, her voice sharp but edged with worry. "The mine," Mike whispered, trembling. "I was trapped in the mine." The tension among the group reached a breaking point the following day. As David's leg worsened, he accused Chica of putting them all in danger. "This is all your fault," he shouted, his voice hoarse with pain. "You couldn't leave it alone. Now look at us." Chica fired back, her frustration boiling over. "No one forced you to come with me. If you don't want the gold, fine. But don't blame me for your bad luck." Mike, still shaken from his nightmares, joined the argument. Maybe David's right, he said hesitantly. Maybe we should put it back. No way, Chica snapped. I'm not giving up what we worked for. Mary, clutching her notebook tightly, tried to mediate. We are falling apart, she said softly, her voice trembling. This gold is tearing us apart. Maybe it's not worth it. But Chica refused to listen. I'm keeping my share, she said firmly, her eyes blazing with determination. You can all do whatever you want. As the group sat in tense silence, the whispers returned, louder than ever. The curse was awake, and it wasn't finished with them yet. The tension within the group simmered throughout the day, but as night fell, Chica's restlessness grew unbearable. The weight of the gold she had taken seemed both a burden and a promise of salvation. Her mind raced with thoughts of wealth, how much more could be hidden in the mine. Unable to resist the pull, Chica waited until the others had fallen into restless sleep. Quietly, she slipped out of the tent, clutching a flashlight and an empty bag. The cool night air nipped at her skin as she crept back toward the mine, her footsteps muffled by the soft earth. When she entered the mine, the oppressive darkness seemed to welcome her back. She ignored the whispers echoing faintly in the shadows and began greedily scooping up more of the golden artifacts and nuggets scattered on the ground. Her flashlight caught glints of untapped treasure further down the tunnel, urging her deeper into the cursed depths. The next morning, Mary woke early and noticed the faint trail of dirt leading to Chica's side of the tent. Her suspicions grew when she spotted the bulging bag of gold hidden beneath Chica's sleeping mat. You went back, didn't you? Mary accused, confronting Chica in front of the group. Chica bristled, her defiance masking her guilt. So what if I did? You were all too scared to take what's ours. Do you even hear yourself? Mary shouted, her voice shaking with anger. This isn't just about you. You're putting all of us in danger. You're just jealous, Chica snapped, her eyes flashing. Jealous that I'm not afraid to claim what we deserve. The others watched in uneasy silence as the argument escalated. Mary stormed off, her heart heavy with the realization that the group was fracturing beyond repair. The following days brought more terror, not just for the students but for their families. David's mother fell mysteriously ill, bedridden with a fever no doctor could explain. Mike received a frantic phone call from his younger brother. Their house had caught fire overnight, destroying everything. Each incident weighed heavily on the group, but it was the ghostly apparitions that truly broke their resolve. One night, as they huddled in their tent, shadowy figures began to appear in the darkness outside. At first, they seemed like silhouettes, but as the group watched in terror, the shapes took form, gaunt miners with hollow eyes and dirt-streaked faces. Their voices were hollow and eerie, speaking in a language the students couldn't understand, yet their gestures were clear, pointing toward the mine and shaking their heads in warning. We have to put it back, Mike whispered, his voice trembling as tears streamed down his face. We have to return it all. Determined to break free from the curse, Mike gathered the gold he had taken and prepared to return it to the mine. Mary joined him, her resolve strengthened by the apparitions. But Chica stood in their way, her expression fierce. You're all cowards, Chica spat, clutching her bag of gold tightly. Do you think giving it back will magically fix everything? We earned this. It's not about fixing everything, Mary said quietly. It's about doing what's right. You don't get it. Chica shouted, her voice cracking. This is our only chance. If we give it back, we'll have nothing. Nothing is better than what we have now. Mike cried, his voice breaking. My family has lost everything because of this. How much more do you need to lose before you understand? David, pale and weak from his infected leg, finally spoke. Chica, it's not worth it. None of this is worth it. But Chica refused to listen. You can all go back to your pathetic lives if you want. I'm keeping my share. As the group turned away, their hearts heavy with sorrow and fear, Chica stood alone, clutching her bag of stolen gold. The whispers around her grew louder, almost mocking her defiance. The bonds of friendship that had once held them together were shattered, and the curse was far from finished. The group sat huddled in their tent, their faces pale and gaunt from lack of sleep. The weight of their misfortunes hung heavy in the air, unspoken but ever present. It was David, still clutching his swollen leg, who finally broke the silence. "We can't go on like this," he said, his voice hoarse. "This gold isn't worth what it's taking from us." Mary nodded, her resolve unshaken. "We have to return it all. Every single piece." Mike, trembling with fear, agreed without hesitation. "I can't take another nightmare. I just want this to end." Chica sat apart from the others, her expression unreadable. She had heard the whispers and felt the pull of the curse, but her greed and desperation to escape her struggles kept her silent. When the group decided to return to the mine, Chica reluctantly agreed. As they gathered the gold, Chica secretly slipped a small, glimmering nugget into her bag. "They don't need to know," she thought, her heart pounding. "Just one piece won't matter." The journey back to the mine was eerily silent. The once beautiful hills now seemed foreboding, the air thick with dread. As they stepped into the mine, the oppressive darkness greeted them like an old enemy. One by one, they placed the gold back where they had found it, their movements slow and deliberate. The whispers around them grew louder, now almost a chant, urging them to complete their task. As the last piece of gold was returned, the ground began to tremble. Rocks fell from the ceiling, and the walls seemed to close in on them. "The mine is collapsing," Mike screamed, panic in his voice. Before they could flee, the ghostly miners appeared, their hollow eyes glowing with an unnatural light. This time, their gestures were unmistakable. They pointed to Chica. "They know," Mary whispered, her voice trembling. "Chica, did you?" Chica's face drained of color as the nugget fell from her back, clattering loudly onto the stone floor. The miners' faces contorted in anger, their whispers rising to an unbearable pitch. The group stared at Chica, betrayal and fear etched into their faces. I thought it wouldn't matter," Chica stammered, backing away from the advancing spirits. The miner's spectral hands reached out, their intent clear. Chica's heart raced as she realized what she had to do. "I'm sorry," she said, tears streaming down her face. "This is all my fault. I'll make it right." "What are you talking about?" David shouted, trying to move toward her despite his injured leg. "There's no time," Chica cried, her voice firm despite the terror in her eyes. "You need to go. Now." Before anyone could stop her, Chica grabbed the nugget and held it out to the miners. "Take it. Take me. Just let them go." The spirits paused, their whispers quieting for the first time. The ground beneath the group began to stabilize, but the entrance to the mine started to seal shut. "Chica, no!" Mary screamed, reaching for her friend, but Chica stepped back into the shadows. "You have to leave," Chica said, her voice breaking. "Tell everyone what happened. Don't let anyone else make the same mistake." With a final glance at her friends, Chica disappeared into the darkness. The miners surrounded her, their forms glowing faintly before vanishing, taking Chica with them. The remaining three stumbled out of the mine just as the entrance caved in behind them, sealing the curse, and Chica inside forever. The group stood outside the collapsed mine, the morning sun breaking over the horizon. They were free, but the weight of their loss hung heavy. "She saved us," David whispered, tears in his eyes. "She saved everyone," Mary said, her voice soft. "We can't let her sacrifice be in vain." As they returned home, the curse lifted. David's leg began to heal, Mike's nightmares ceased, and their families found peace. But the memory of Chica's sacrifice stayed with them, a solemn reminder of the cost of greed and the power of redemption. The journey back home was somber, the silence between the three friends heavy with grief and reflection. The golden hills that once held such promise now felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the cost of their greed. Sitting together days later, they finally spoke of what had happened. "We wanted so much," Mary said softly, tears brimming in her eyes. "But we lost more than we could ever gain." David nodded, his voice raw. "It was never about the gold. It's about us, what we had before we let greed take over. Mike added quietly, Chica, she gave everything to save us. We can't let her sacrifice mean nothing. The group made a solemn vow that day, to value trust, loyalty, and the bonds they shared above all else. No treasure could ever replace the relationships they almost lost. Returning to the hills one last time, the friends stood at the collapsed entrance of the mine. The place where Chica had made her final stand now lay silent, its whispers faded into the void. With care and reverence, they planted a small tree near the entrance, its roots reaching deep into the soil that had claimed their friend. This is for Chica, Mary said, placing her hands on the young sapling. So she'll always be here, watching over this place and reminding anyone who comes here of what truly matters. The others nodded, their hands joining hers in silent tribute. Life after the mine wasn't easy, but the lessons they had learned guided them as they rebuilt their lives. Mary poured her heart into her dream of becoming a writer, channeling their story into words that would inspire others to seek fulfillment in connections, not possessions. David worked hard to become a doctor, dedicating his life to healing others as a way of honoring the second chance Chica had given him. Mike embraced his love for comedy, using laughter to bring light to the lives of those around him, knowing how fragile joy could be. Though their paths diverged, their bond remained unbroken. They visited the tree every year, watching it grow and thrive, just as they did. The hills, once cursed by greed and haunted by whispers, were now a place of peace. The winds that swept through the trees carried no trace of the miners' warnings, only the quiet, enduring memory of a friend who had shown them the true value of sacrifice and love. Thank you for watching this incredible tale of sacrifice, courage, and redemption. We hope you enjoyed the journey of our 4 Nigerian students and the valuable lessons this story teaches about the dangers of greed and the power of selflessness. If you've ever had an experience that felt like a supernatural warning or a moment where doing the right thing came at a great cost, share your story in the comments below, we'd love to hear it. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe to our channel for more captivating African folktales, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next story. Stay tuned, because we've got even more exciting and unforgettable stories coming your way soon. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next video.